everyone, my name is Udit. Today I'm going to talk about the on-site presentation round of the Facebook UX researcher interview process. At the end of this video, you should have a pretty good understanding of what this round is all about, what interviewers are looking for, and some tips to rock it. As a quick introduction, I'm from Prepfully. We offer anonymous mock interviews with someone who's been there in your target company and role, alongside a host of other interview prep services. So in this context, we've got several Facebook UX researchers who've been helping candidates with mocks and advice, and who've also helped us put together a lot of relevant content, this video being an example of it. So on to the presentation round then. For context, this is part of the on-site round, so if you get to it, you already passed your recruiter chat and phone screen. Only start worrying about it when you get to that stage. The objective of this presentation round is to set context for folks who will be interviewing you in the remaining rounds. You're going to have to choose one impactful research project that demonstrates how your work resulted in meaningful impact on a product. You should start with what the goals were, what your role was, before moving into how you scoped the project, put together a plan, and executed on it. Within the execution, you'll have to talk about what methodologies you considered and eventually chose, the trade-offs you made, and the outputs you extracted. In this section, it's also worth establishing the context in which you did this research. So who your stakeholders were, any constraints that you were working within, such as time or budget or resourcing, etc., as well as what the actual implementation was like where you faced unexpected situations, roadblocks, etc., and how you dealt with them. Near the conclusion, you should also cover what the outcome was. So what was the impact that you achieved as a result of this research? Finally, Facebook also likes to get an idea of what you do without constraints. So no time limits, infinite budget, infinite support in recruiting participants, all the technical enablement you can dream of. So make sure you also talk a little bit about what you do under these circumstances, because it really helps your interviewers get an idea of what you could do with an optimal setup. Whether you changed methodologies, how you might change your approach, or roadmap, and so on. It's also worth noting, if you work primarily on academic or abstract research topics, which a lot of you interviewing for this role straight out of PhDs might have, for instance, you'll have to additionally share how your work could be applied to real world problems and what your recommendations might be in this context. So this takes a slightly theoretical spin on some of the topics I just listed earlier, but it's still the same intent. Now, to what your interviewers are looking for and tips for each of these perspectives. First, your interviewer is assessing your ability to concisely articulate your past work, justify the decisions you took, and explain the impact that you achieved. So turn your presentation into a story, all the way from why you did this to what you decided given the constraints at that time, before talking about the how in terms of how you executed on things. It's going to get really intense, so pick something that you were core to the execution of and which really demonstrates your range of skills. Second, you're going to be interrupted repeatedly. Your interviewers will have a lot of questions, so be prepared to deal with them in the flow and make sure that if push comes to shove, you can wrap up the last few slides in a couple of minutes to make sure the story doesn't lie incomplete for lack of time. Third, make sure to have enough details around the methodologies you chose, both in terms of why you chose them, but also the nitty-gritty of what you actually did. So for example, if you did a conjoint survey at some point, be prepared with the actual questions you asked, maybe in an appendix, sufficiently anonymized of course if there was an NDA involved. Or if you performed participant interviews, have the research guide ready as well as the information on the criteria you used to select participants, why you chose a certain number, how you prevented or compensated for bias during selection or analysis, and so on. Fourth, target your presentation to be flexible between 25 and 40 minutes when practicing the run-through, depending on the level of detail you go to, of course. This is because even though it's a 45-minute slot, your first 5 minutes is going to be all introductions and tell me about yourself, which is important because your audience are all interviewers for your next round, and the rest of the time is going to get eaten up by questions. Finally, when preparing the presentation, always keep in mind what you could have done but chose not to do at the time. And it's really important that you communicate these as deliberate decisions that you made at the moment as opposed to random choices. Because sometimes you'll just be asked outright, did you consider XYZ? Or why not ABC? And sometimes if you sense these kinds of questions, it's better just to be proactive with, I considered 3 options, X, Y, and Z, and I went with Z because ABC. Right, then that's all from me. This is our guidance from Prepfully and our experts on rocking Facebook's on-site presentation round for UX researchers. Once you feel ready for some practice, or if you just want a sense check of your preparation level, you can book an anonymous online mock interview with a Facebook UX researcher on Prepfully, and they can give you feedback. I've included a link in the description below. In addition, I've also linked to a bunch of other useful resources. There's a written guide going into a lot more depth. There's also more information about the other on-site rounds you will face after your presentation. So all that is covered in the links below. If you have any follow-up questions about the presentation, ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks and good luck.
Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe. Our website is prepfully.com. We've got lots of interview questions there. You can also schedule a mock interview with one of our experts. You can find the link in the description below. All the best from us at Prepfully, and we hope you totally rock your interview.